Once upon a time, two boys grew up playing hockey in the village of Terrace, British Columbia. One of them went on to play in the National Hockey League. The other became a comedian. Now, one flies planes and coaches youth hockey. The other is still a comedian and owns newsstands. This is their podcast, Enjoying Orange Slices with Jeff and Ian.
Jeff, it's a miracle. It's only been 7 days since we last talked.
That's right. That is so. Once we're done today, we're good till July.
We're good till mid-season 2025-26.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. What do you got? What do you got going on? What's up?
Nothing. The season's ended, so I'm just kind of looking out the window because the Vancouver Canucks are done. You know what's sad is when there's games and it means nothing afterwards. Yeah. You know, like it's really even though I don't know, I see this. I went to my first hockey game tonight. Like that's what I've seen after you. I'm like, well, nothing meant anything, so I don't know how you could have found that exciting. So
yeah, it's a tough spot. You know, kind of some teams are right in it to the last week, like Calgary. And I mean, Calgary ended up with 96 points, tied with St. Louis, but St. Louis is the tiebreaker and they don't get in. Whereas if they were in the Eastern Conference, I know they don't play in the Eastern Conference. They're out west with Columbus, but yeah, they would have been in. I mean, I don't know if people realize 96 points from Calgary and they don't make it. And the magic number is usually somewhere between 95 and 97. So they got 96 and they
were close.
Lost on a tiebreaker.
It means that's why everything means so much at the beginning of the year for the end of the year, right? You got to get those couple extra points at the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. And these teams that don't start off right away can fall to the wayside. Speaking of Columbus, they were close too. Columbus was close.
Yeah, I think they got within 2 points. There was a lot of teams that had an opportunity for the last wild card in the East, and they just couldn't get it together to catch up with our friends in Montreal.
Montreal's so excited. They're starting the parade. They're starting the parade tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna be tough.
So Washington, Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, Florida.
Okay. Very good.
And what's the other one?
New Jersey, Carolina.
Yeah. New Jersey, Carolina could be the one that goes the longest.
Well, I mean, I don't know how. Well, I mean, we talked about Montreal a little bit. I think Washington. I mean, they made a 20-point jump again this year. Washington did, I think. So they keep progressing. There's just something. They got some injuries in Washington. They kind of flattened out at the end of the season, and you can say, well, you know what? That's okay. They had it made, but Montreal had to play tooth and nail the whole way, and now Montreal's
They're already playing. They're playing Stanley Cup hockey already.
Yeah,
right? That's what they're doing.
They're playing with the house money, and so Montreal, and they're packing the Bell Center every night, led the league in attendance. You know, they get a game at Washington they could have the tiger by the tail. But I mean, you have two premier series in the first round, one of them being Florida and Tampa, and the other one being Colorado and Dallas. But Dallas, not unlike Washington, kind of ran the three-legged race over the finish line. So, but they do have good playoff experience. So we'll see what they do. But it's, half the teams are done now, right? And Vancouver, are you going to do like Luciano does? And like when Toronto gets knocked out,
paint my nails,
paint your nails and not communicate with anyone until October.
I see. I was talking to Luciano the other day. He looks really good. He looks really healthy. I'm happy for him. He's the only problem is he's now taking up yo-yoing. So he just sends me these videos of him yo-yoing. I'm like, oh my god.
Does he have a blue and a white yo-yo for the Leafs colors?
For the Leafs? That's funny. And then he's got a black one for when they lose, and he just doesn't say anything. He just yo-yos.
Remember the yo-yos used to have the lights in them? Pretty cool.
He has one of those. There's one with the light in it. He's out of control. Anyways, back to hockey.
Yeah, we got to go today.
I want to go.
Yeah.
I want to talk to Washington, Montreal. So
Yeah.
Logan Thompson, did they expect him back for this round or no?
I don't know. I haven't heard much. I don't even know who played last night. It's been Lindgren mostly. Wasn't Lindgren last night. So Pittsburgh laid it on him. One thing Washington, I really like their coach Carberry. So I think a young guy, I think he can figure it out. But that big Alexei Protas, that guy, 6'8" guy, Russian winger, he's just a monster. He got hurt. I don't think Wilson's been playing. So if those guys are all playing, they're pretty big and rugged team, right? Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And Montreal's not a big rugged team, but Montreal's got momentum on their side, and I think has the edge.
I think they have the goaltending edge.
Yeah, a little bit of an edge there right now because you don't know what's going on in goal in Washington, and I really like Montembeault, and so we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Look out for Montreal.
I didn't really know much about Montembeault. He's kind of do you know much about him? Like where?
Well, I think originally he was in Florida, and then I believe he got waived, and I believe he got waived at some point. But he ended up obviously in Montreal, and it's been just been a great story on Team Canada when Montreal was not that good. Montreal. So here's where I think things turned around. Some teams took advantage. You come out of the Thanksgiving or Christmas break. Let's just use that. Montreal after Christmas went Florida or Tampa, Florida, Tampa, Vegas, and they won, I believe, in Florida and Tampa. They came out here. Vegas was up on them New Year's Eve, and they ended up coming back and beating Vegas 3-2. And they kind of went on a run. And then after you came out of the Four Nations, they kind of kept it going. But Montembeault got named to Team Canada. I think they had to verify those rosters by December, somewhere between the 7th and 15th, I believe, of December, I believe. And so Montreal was not fantastic at that point. And so Montreal's had a couple spurts during the season where they've turned it around and they've beaten really, really good teams that are, obviously Washington with the way they're second in the league this year. They would be considered a Stanley Cup contender. But when you're beating Florida, Tampa, and Vegas, right? Vegas was going good when they beat them. So look out for Montreal, and that crowd gets going in the Bell Center. If they get a split in Washington, that series is on big time. So
I do think they have the advantage in the crowd. I think Montreal's crowd's a better advantage.
Well, I think, and talking about crowds, then we have the tale of two cities. So happy to see Ottawa get in. Travis Green did such a good job. I love watching them play. But, you got Toronto, which a lot of Canada are original six, right? So a lot of Canada passes down.
A lot of Canada. I love Toronto.
They pass along, like through families, their love of the Leafs and the Canadians, right?
And their tickets.
Yeah, and the love of the cost of the tickets. But so wherever those teams travel, and it's like that with a lot of the original six teams, they have a really good following. But Ottawa gets in and they get Toronto, which is great, right? But how many of those fans come into those games? Like Toronto's going to have a huge home ice advantage because their crowd's going to be
both cities
95% Toronto fans, right? And then you go up to Ottawa. How many Ottawa fans can they get in there? Because we know the Toronto fans will pay anything for a ticket because they have to.
And the rink is closer to Toronto than it is Ottawa.
Yeah. So you have in Montreal, you have this huge advantage at home, and in Ottawa, you have this huge disadvantage. But good for them to get in, and hopefully the Sens fans get out there and support them.
You know what the problem is? It's really disappointing when Canadian teams get Canadian teams in the first round.
Well, I mean, it's the way it is. I
All
mean,
right,
how
don't agree with me.
disappointing
Don't
is
agree
it
with
that
me.
no,
Don't
I
agree with
don't.
me. No.
Like, I mean, here's a little something to think about. First of all, the publicity in the area or in Canada in general is going to be off the hook. It's no
Right.
different than saying it's really uh, unfortunate when Tampa Bay and Florida get together in the first round, right?
It's true. But
So,
they talked about a couple years ago. They talked about a playoff system where the top teams got to pick who they wanted to play, like because
like they do
not
in the
necessarily,
PNWH or PH,
yeah,
sorry,
because it's not
the women's league.
necessarily,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not necessarily that the team that sneaks in is the weakest, right? There might be a team that you play better against, so you can pick. You might pick number two to play against instead of number eight,
Well,
which I
you
thought was
have,
interesting.
yeah. And so here's the issue that you have. Okay. So you said it earlier. The regular season means something, and I'll bring it right back here to fabulous Las Vegas. The
Las
regular
Vegas.
season, the Golden Knights had a lot more focus on the importance of the regular season this year than they did last year. Now, last year, you had the Stanley Cup hangover and you had everything that went along with it. But then you sneak in the first round. Who do you get? You get Dallas, right? And you're really good and you compete really well against Dallas, but they get the extra home game and they end up beating you by a goal. So if you look back and we talked about Calgary, I can give you a game where Calgary was in Anaheim about 2 weeks ago, a week, 10 days ago, maybe, where they were up in that game and they ended up, Anaheim came back and beat them 4-3 in overtime. They get that extra point and they play like they did. They get 97 points, they're in. So the regular season, even though it's an absolute marathon, does mean something to these teams. And so now you're looking and you're going, okay, who do we pick? Well, there's GMs have two problems. First of all, they have to build a team that can win during the regular season. Then they have to build a team once they kind of can get their team competitive and in that race. Then they have to build a team that can win against anybody in a 7-game series. So being able to pick your poison like they do in the women's league has a lot of excitement to it and a lot of if your team gets picked to play against the top seed, you obviously your back's going to be up a little bit, so it does create some animosity right out of the gate.
Yes, right off the bat, it creates animosity, and yeah, I think that's the kind of stuff that the NHL needs to do. Not, oh, we got to stick with this is how it works. Oh, what do we do that gets people? Because you got another day where during the picking that it can be, big press event.
Yeah, you're right. And that's something you're fighting for because this weekend the NHL starts. Well, so does the NBA. And okay,
Mhm.
so in Canada you have the Raptors, right? But down here, right? You watch Sports Center last night, and because I watched LA and Calgary, and I'm watching Sports Center. Scott Van Pelt does a great job, and they get some hockey on there. A couple really cool, well, three really cool things happen in the LA Calgary game last night. But talking about that, so we have the playoffs starting in the NHL. Well, guess what? So does the NBA. So now the NBA gets going. Plus, they got their they play in tournament, which has caught some momentum, and now you're competing for the pub, right? So you're right. If you go, hey, Montreal, let's just use them because we talked about them a bit tonight. Uh, Montreal is well, they're in eighth place. So Winnipeg, who's number one in the league, picked Montreal to play in the first round. Let's just say they did that, right? Or maybe they don't pick that team. Maybe they pick a team that they feel in their division that they have a little bit of an advantage against, right?
They
So
go Dallas.
yeah, right now Dallas is scuffling. They're maybe there's some like you look at Edmonton. I still think Edmonton can be lethal with just with the two superstars, and they're going to play definitely. It looks like against LA. So you but if you had a team like Edmonton, where all of a sudden the two superstars were out, like Heiskanen is going to be out in the first round in Dallas, it sounds like. Well, now you start looking, you're going, okay, we got a guy that plays 25 to 30 minutes a night that's not going to be playing. How do we now match up against that team? And that's where it wouldn't be anything. The coaches could talk about it, but the GMs would be looking at it going, okay, we built our team to compete against this team. We feel we have a real favorable matchup there against that team. We're going to pick them. That would be really crazy. But then you got to think about, well, what happens? Let's just say if it's Boston, and let's just say it's the Kings that win the division. They look and they go, if you just go, you cross the wires and you can go anywhere in the league, and they pick Boston. Well, that's a 6-hour flight, right? And now all of a sudden it's not such an advantage. And that's kind of one thing you talk about, the disadvantage of Toronto and Montreal, or sorry, Toronto and Ottawa. Those guys are just up the street. Those guys, same time zone. You look at Vegas, Mini, 2-hour time change, 2.5, 3-hour flight. Edmonton to LA, 2.5 hour flight. Florida, half an hour flight from Tampa.
7 minutes. Yeah. They probably drive.
Yeah, they could. I mean, that's what I was thinking about Toronto. I'm like, how's Toronto going to get up to Ottawa? Teams have taken the train, because you drive out to the airport, you fly 30, 40 minutes, you land. Well, if you took a bus or you took the train,
got a bus in.
There's, you know what I mean? I don't know if there's a super quick way, but all those teams out east have a distinct advantage.
It might be the same time taking the train. It might be the same time difference.
If you just tell everybody, hey, we'll see you at the train at 11, like, we're going to practice, and maybe just everyone, okay, guys, we're practicing 10 to 10:30. We're on the 11:30 train to Ottawa or whatever. I don't know.
Smart, yeah.
And then, so everybody leaves the rink together. They get on the train, hang out for a couple hours. You can walk around, do whatever you want, and then
it's
you're
pretty relaxing
Ottawa.
on the train. Yeah, and then you're in Ottawa.
You close your eyes for a few minutes. But the advantage that the Eastern Conference teams have in the travel is that's something that you have to look at. I'm not saying these games are going to be crazy, but Toronto's close to Ottawa. Montreal is not far from DC. Florida teams are just a 3-wood across the state from each other, and then New Jersey and Carolina, that's close too. All same times. They're all same time zones, right? Whereas out west, every
changing time zones, distant
except
flights,
St. Louis and Winnipeg has a time zone change. And just think about it. When you see it all the time in life, people don't like change. People struggle when the clocks go back or they go forward an hour, right? Mm-hmm. So some of these series, no more than Vegas Mini, the clock's going to go 2 hours. The other ones are all 1 hour, except Winnipeg, St. Louis.
How about Winnipeg getting first place, and what do they get for all their hard work? St. Louis.
I know, and they almost got I was trying to figure out how that tiebreaker was. They almost got Calgary. I'm like, I don't know if I want Calgary either. And so but Mini found a way to get in, and now they got Eriksson Ek back and Kaprizov back. I mean, any one of these teams that gets in, it's so hard.
You said there was 3 things that stuck out to you yesterday about watching the LA Calgary game.
Okay, so here's a little something. People probably don't care. They probably
gather around, everybody. There's a little.
Here, you gotta get another log on the fire. I'm gonna steal a couple logs from Mallard's fire when he talks to Taylor when we're doing the show together. They build it up. They get the fireside chat going. 3 guys scoring their first. 2 guys playing in their first NHL game.
No way.
3 guys in their first score, and 1 guy in his second NHL game. 2 guys scoring. Piquera, how do you say Piquera? I think it is the defenseman for Calgary, and Morgan was the forward. First game, they both scored.
First game, both scored.
And then Ward, second game in LA scores. And Ward, you might remember that name because he was a longtime Canuck. His dad, Dixon Ward. So all the
Oh,
parents
no
were in the
way.
stands. Yeah, all the parents were in the stands watching their kids play. And two of them in their first NHL game scored, and Calgary laid a beating on LA last night. LA was kind of, you could tell they were focused on getting ready for next the weekend.
They
And
already
then,
had their heads were already in the playoffs.
yeah, hey, so Dixon Ward's son scored, and they had a picture. They had all the parents, and they were showing him and his wife, and it was pretty crazy. But he could have had 3 or 4 goals last night, his son.
Really?
He had unbelievable chances. So I was, it was kind of like a brisk practice for a while, these two teams together. And then it kind of got going. Then Calgary kind of broke it open, and then it settled back down again. But I thought, how exciting.
Tell
Yeah.
tell me more about the Picard kid, because you sent me a message last night that you thought he's something else
Yeah. So there's this young defenseman that Calgary drafted. He played in the OHL this year. He had 61 games. He had 107 points
as a defenseman.
as a defenseman. Yeah. So, there you go. Like, you draft well, and you
Definitely
sometimes
stay at
have to
home.
be
He's
patient.
definitely a stay-at-home defenseman.
Yeah, yeah, he's breaking sticks on guys' backs. He's but
Is he a
yeah,
big kid? Was he a big kid?
6 footer. But you could
Not too,
get
not
good. You
huge.
can see good eyes. It's kind of fun to watch a young defenseman play in the NHL, because one thing you realize really quick, and they'll help them in Calgary because they're on the rise. They seem like they have a really cohesive group there.
As they get a new building, they're just going to be coming into their prime.
Yeah,
That's what's going to be good about it.
is watching young players have things that work in junior or in the minors that get immediately
They get
shut down
exposed
in the
immediately.
NHL. Yeah, yeah. Ask me how I know. But and so I watch some of the plays, and you're like, yeah, that's really, you can see, like, you watch some of the things they do, or their edge work, or their ability to move the puck, but they're like, I'm going to squeeze it in between those two guys. No, you're not. I'm going to
Yeah, you're not.
sauce it across the middle. No, they're
There's
going to
no saucing.
transition 2-on-1
Yeah,
on you.
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I marvel every time I watch the NHL at how good those guys are at picking pucks off that go laterally. You try and go through the middle,
Was
it better be like 99.9% of because otherwise those guys are going to stick on it, and they're
and Ward was on Calgary. Was Ward on Calgary?
no, Ward's in LA, so he's played in Ontario the last couple of years for
So
who's our friend
he's
in
in their
on
mind.
yeah, he's down in Ontario with Marco, right? Sturm.
Marco, yeah,
So
sure, yeah.
yeah,
And how about
so
the other kid? The other kid, was he in Ontario this year, or was he in their minor league system, or the kid in
well,
Calgary, Picard?
two of the kids scored with Calgary. The one just came up from junior, and Morgan, I'm not sure where he was. I think
Because this
he was with the Wranglers this year. So he's been
okay.
with the Wranglers.
Because this is the
Yeah.
time of year when the college kids sign and come in, and also I guess they try. It's interesting that Calgary, I guess they did because they're already out. They didn't mind for trying kids, right? So
Well, it's fun to watch the new kids come in. It's kind of almost like the start of the season, an exhibition season where you watch them come in. But obviously, they're a lot more ready to go later in the season because everyone's got the whole season under their belt. But yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you that there's some pretty highly touted kids that are coming, and Calgary looks good. And here's the sidebar: Nazem Kadri, 35 goals this year, pretty crazy.
good for him.
So the
Good
question
for
I
him.
have, talking about, and we
Okay.
talked a lot about
Okay.
Calgary today, but let's compare them to Vancouver. Vancouver had a great year last year, had a tough year this year. Calgary didn't make the
They were
playoffs, but had a
just
great
fine.
year.
They were just fine. Vancouver was just fine.
So yeah. So what does Calgary do? Does Calgary keep making that next step next year and
I think they
continue
do.
on?
You know why? I'll tell you why.
Talk to
Because
me.
they made a significant step, but they didn't get into the playoffs, right? So I think
Mhm.
that keeps you building more because you're not I think it keeps you more humble, not humble. I don't know what the word would be for it, but you're not expecting things because things came easier, but they didn't come easy, right?
Mhm.
When Vancouver, they went from really not making the playoffs to on like to the second round. It seemed like things were easy now. Okay, now everything's easy. And then they came back the next year and it was like nothing's easy, right? It shut it down all, people not getting along, just struggling, injuries. Um, something that they don't talk about in Vancouver. The one kid, had the cancer diagnosis during the summer, Joshua, and he didn't come back until mid-October. I think that's bigger than what people let on. Like that's pretty huge. You're 20 years old and the guy gets cancer, and it has to take 3 months off to. I'm not going to say that it's nut cancer, but it's I think it puts a cloud on everything, right?
Well, we all know when that word's mentioned, I mean, it's shocking, right? And so
Yeah.
now you're at the height of your powers, right? And you get that diagnosis, and so yeah, it took him a bit to come back,
And he was a
and they
big
missed him.
part the year before. He was a big part the year before. A big, big part.
Well, they had you know what? There's some stuff going on in Vancouver, and they got to figure it
Never.
out because one of the things, and you know what? Sometimes success breeds contempt, right? So we'll have to see how that all shakes out. But you have to look around these conferences, and you have to look and see who's going away. Well, there's
Nobody's going away.
not many are going away. Like if you look out west, LA isn't going away. Vegas isn't going away. Edmonton's not going away. Um, Calgary's on the rise. Let's see who else we got.
Winnipeg ain't going away.
Winnipeg's not going away. Dallas isn't going away. Colorado's not going away. And look at St. Louis and Mini, right? And then you go out east. Here comes Ottawa. Here comes Montreal, right? Washington, the two Florida teams. Carolina's perennially there. New Jersey got it
Rangers,
back on track. You know
but
what I mean?
Rangers are
So
going away. The Rangers are going
Toronto,
away.
yeah, the Rangers, the Rangers. But again, another organization that has distractions, and every organization has them. How do you manage and mitigate those distractions? And that is what the really, the teams that seem to be able to keep coming. Boston has some right
I
distractions,
I
right, and
talked to
they're
I
they're
talked
not
to a
there
guy.
this year.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't think they might. I don't think they're going to be there next year either. I think they still got a lot of distraction. I also think that the Rangers. I talked to a guy named Eddie Pepitone, very funny comedian actor, the other night. He's a huge Rangers fan, and he knows I'm a Canucks fan. He goes, "Why do you care if the Rangers are good?" And I'll tell you why. The league's better if the Rangers are good because they're such a massive, I don't know, like magnet that it helps the league. Like if the Rangers are good, they're getting press in New York, which means they're getting press other places, which means the league's getting press. And I think it's better when the Rangers are good.
If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere.
You
Madison
can make it
Square
Nusk.
Garden. You can make it Nusk. Did you say Usk? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can make it Nusk.
Even do I
And
edge.
Kitwanga.
Get Wonga.
Spent a lot of
Mwang.
time in
Mwanga.
Kitwanga over the years. Okay, so think about it though. Like you have the mecca of of everything in the United States in New York City, right? And so
Hmm.
yeah, and the Rangers with their great uniforms, they
You
just
love
could
those uniforms.
not get it together this year. And Boston, there's another unbelievable sports town, could not get it together. But that leads that leaves room for other teams. And let's not forget about Columbus. They were so close,
Columbus,
couldn't
so
quite get it over
close.
the finish line. There's another team very reminiscent of Calgary. You throw Montreal and Ottawa in there, but they're just obviously a little bit further ahead because they got in. These teams are up and coming. So,
You know what the
you know,
interesting part about Columbus was the numbers they were winning, like the scores they were getting were massive, like 6-2, six. Like I was just like, wow, and they didn't make it. Yeah, they were scoring all their goals in 4 games.
Yeah, there, again, we're not just here to do a podcast every once in a while. We're here to pump other podcasts. But if you get a chance, Mallard, 100% hockey, go catch the one that had John Davidson on it. It's a great story because John Davidson is an icon, but he talks a little bit about the Columbus team and some of their players that if you're kind of interested, because I mean, I'm pulling for Columbus. I don't care, and I pray
Yeah.
that they make it next year because we all love good stories, and that's a great story. So but listen to that. John talks a little bit more about that organization. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's not like, it's not a 35-minute in-depth conversation on them, but it talks about some of their young guys, what they've done, some of the missteps they've had, and obviously the tragedy with Johnny passing away. So anyways, go
That
Columbus.
and Johnny was a huge tragedy, right? But Johnny was a huge star. They also had like a year or two before that, they had a huge tragedy with one of their minor league goalies that was an up and comer.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of stuff, just like we talked about, that shakes the foundation of the team. Like
Hmm.
you're like, two, should we be here? Are we cursed?
Yeah.
I would believe people believe that. So anyways,
There,
but I was loving them winning, and I was kind of disappointed that they didn't get in.
I got a funny story. Bruce Cassidy said, yeah, they interviewed him in Columbus before the game. He goes, I don't want to hear that cannon. I told the guys, I don't want to
That's
hear
so
that
funny.
cannon one time in that building. He must have had some nights in there where, when he was in the Eastern
It just kept
Conference,
shooting.
where that cannon just kept going off. And he's like, that was his message to the guys before the game. I don't want to hear that cannon. So
Is it?
hopefully we
Have we
hear it
ta-
a bunch next
have we
year.
have we talked about the cannon before? Have we talked about, is it whoever the guy was that was general manager that got fired just signed off on it and didn't care?
Was it Waddell?
I don't know who it was,
Or
but
McLean?
apparently
Was it
it
McLean or
was
Doug
McLean. Yeah, I
McLean?
think it was McLean. Yeah, it was like his last thing that he did. He was just draining. Yeah, go ahead, signed off and put a cannon.
Well, we're gonna try. I keep asking Mallard because Mallard's best friends with Doug McLean, and I said we got to get Doug on the show, and he goes, he'll shred you too for an hour. And I said, he's the
Sure, we'll
funniest
take it.
guy. He doesn't keep score when he plays golf. He keeps time. So Mallard asked him. He's down in Florida with all the other hockey guys on the same street, and they go play golf. He goes, "Hey Doug, how was your golf today? 3 hours and 47 minutes."
That's
So
great.
I love
I'm
it.
with him on
So
that one.
yeah, I am too.
I
You know
I
what?
check out after 47 minutes. That's my problem. I'm just like, la, 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 la. I've been
There's a,
watching fights. I've been watching fights on golf courses lately. Like where just
oh,
people get
what's up
into
with
it.
that one in Canada where the one guy went off, eh? Where was
Yeah,
that?
it's so good. I don't know. It was that in like out east, I think it was, right? Yeah, there's some good ones. There's some
Did
good
you
ones
hear at
here.
the end one of the girls go, "Hey, do you guys mind if we play through?"
No way.
There's a big Donnybrook. I'll send it to you. So I forget
Yeah,
who sent it to me. Ralphie Ellis Murdoch, my old pal that I used to fly with, his nephew, Alex Nedeljkovic, plays in Pittsburgh.
really?
And so Ralphie became a big hockey fan. Yeah. And he sent me the other day. And so they're filming it, and it's a big Donnybrook. And this one guy's going off. He's leveling some guys with some haymakers. And finally, you hear at the end, you hear you hear this voice. Hey, do you guys mind if we play through? There must have
I
been 12 people
I
involved in
love that
this.
kind of stuff. I love that kind of stuff. Like when there's a car accident and people say you can't park there. I love that.
Oh no. Can't park there.
You can't
Oh.
park there. Oh my God, it makes me laugh so hard.
Uh,
Anyways,
hey, so
uh,
do you want to tell everybody why we got to keep it tight today because you big timed me last night? You gave
because
me a
I'm very
window to do this
important.
today.
I gave you a window and you were mad. You hate when I give the window. You're like, yo, I can tell your neck hair goes up. What do you mean you're giving me a window? You know what you said? You don't have a show at 8:30 in the morning. You're not on stage at 8:30.
I
I
thought
love
of
it when
Carrie Ann when I was like, I just texted Lord Baggs like, hey, we can only go from this to this because I got a meeting. And I'm like, you're not on stage right now. Don't do
meeting,
some meeting.
figuring out what kind of orange juice you want in your green room. Shut up.
Well, I know there's Coke Zero. I know that much.
Coke Zero, water, fruit tray. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to give you some stuff that I'd like on it too.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
When I'm not there,
When you're not, just take pictures of it and send it to you.
send it to me.
Got it for
Make
you.
sure there's chocolate chips. So
Have I ever told you there was a guy that was selling enough tickets that he would demand a new pair of sneakers for each show, Air Force Ones, and he would get them. He would get, and it was, and by the time it was over, because they had like he would do 5 shows and he'd get 5 pairs of sneakers, right? He wanted them fresh to wear on stage, and they'd buy them for him. But when he stopped selling tickets, he still like as many tickets as he was, he kept trying to get them, and it went down to all right, you got 1 pair of shoes a weekend.
that's still
That's
good
still
though.
a lot. That's still a lot of shoes. Yeah,
Well, you like your shoes. I
I
don't know
do.
if that would be on my radar. I don't go through a lot of shoes, so maybe we should put that on there. But you
Shoes.
don't like Air Jordans. You like the fancier shoes.
I like the Adidas. Yeah. Yeah, I like those.
Uh,
Yeah.
okay, so we got playoffs coming this weekend.
It's
And do you
Saturday,
think?
right?
Yeah, I mean,
Saturday.
start Saturday. Do you have any upsets like something that pops off your head? Look out for a series.
I think Dallas is out. I think Dallas is just going to get mowed down. That's what I really and I hate to say that because Spotter and DeBoer have always been so
Yep.
good to us, but I'm
Yep.
just like, what is going on? They just do not seem the jelly has not set. It is
No.
all water and color. You know?
Yeah, exactly. The Jello wasn't made properly. There's been a bit of a malaise for a while.
Yeah.
It's been going on. I'd have to count the games back, but when they went through Edmonton and Calgary and then to Seattle, which was 4 games because they played 2 in Seattle. So was that? Let's just say what are we today? April, somewhere in the middle of 19th of April, maybe
19th, no, 18th.
18th. So 3 weeks, which is like not a long time in life, but it's a while in hockey because they probably played 8 to 10 games that amount of time. Um, they just they need they need to pull the circuit breaker out and let it reset for about a couple of minutes before they push it back in against. The nice thing is they start at home, so they can maybe it would be better if they start on the road, but the 2 series that are just jump out at your Colorado, Dallas, and Florida, Tampa's teams that are you would have at the top of your bracket is you wouldn't be surprised if someone said to you at Christmas, hey, Dallas and Tampa or Florida and Colorado are going to be the
Yeah.
finals. So
What do you think, Landeskog? Does he come back starting in Dallas, or do they hold him until home?
no, I think he comes back. I think he's with the team. I think just him being around the team has got to be such a lift. I mean, and there's another unbelievable story. He played 3 games, I think, in the American League. I know he played against Henderson twice. It's not the same, but you know what? At this point, he just needed to get in game action. Now he's going to get out there. They're going to probably start him on the 4th line, and he'll play with whoever they'll put him on the wing because I don't think they're going to want to put him at center. So put him on the wing on the 4th line, and they get 10 minutes out of him, and then move him up
Mhm.
once in a while with McKinnon and Natchez, right? Just kind of, I just think look out if he can
That's
contribute
exactly right. Look out.
because he's
That's
just
what I think.
yeah he's one of those
Yeah.
guys when you watch him on the ice when he has an aura like he's like when he's out there you can tell you're like holy shit Landeskog's out there like
Yeah.
like now he hasn't been out there for 2 years so let's temper our expectations but if he can give them 8 to 10 minutes a night if he can give him 10 to start with, that is massive. And we just hope that
How,
his body cooperates.
how crazy is it that guys can come back after not playing and start in the playoffs?
Yeah, we're going to see it in a couple places. We're going to see it with Landeskog, and you're going to see it probably in Edmonton with Kane, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, and you're going to see. I mean, Frederick's been out for quite a while, so all of a sudden, Edmonton and Colorado look a lot different because they just have this new energy in the lineup, and all those guys are rugged players. So, you
Yeah.
kind of look at them if you're going to look at it and go, hey, those guys are all built for playoffs. It just so happens that Landeskog is the captain of your team, too. So I think just having him around will just give it a boost of adrenaline to McCarr and McKinnon. And those guys already are all world. So,
You know what? You know what else? You know what else? The Avalanche are going in. Old podcast alumni Wedgwood is on that team. Blackwood and Wedgwood both playing really well, and I think Wedgwood might get that start because he was in Dallas.
yeah, I mean, when you watch him play, it's really, I mean, I'd love to have him back on and ask him and go, hey, is this the best you played in your career? Because when
We
I
need to
watch
have him
him,
back
I'm
on.
like, he looks really, really good. I watched them in Vegas go at it. Excuse me, I almost buckled a couple weeks ago, and he looked really good. So that would be and Blackwood. I mean, these two guys were rescued uh, from Nashville and San Jose, right?
Yeah,
And Wedgwood's
yeah.
got another year now in Colorado because he signed 2 years, I believe, with Nashville, and Blackwood's got 5, I think, right? So good job by Colorado. I mean, they really re-engineered their team, and it looked good. We'll see what Dallas does. I mean, this is where your coach is really kind of, and Pete's a hell of a coach. So we'll see. Yeah, I wouldn't get ready to read the final eulogy on the Dallas Stars by any means, but they have been scuffling, and they got to figure it out.
Okay, so that was my in the West, and now I'm going to go to the East, and I think Florida's getting knocked out by Tampa.
Yes, I like. There's something about Tampa I like, um, and Florida's dinged up, just like Edmonton is dinged up. Florida and Edmonton both obviously in the finals last year. Florida in the finals the last 2 years. Um, what can Kachuk give you? Can he play? I'm assuming he's going to play. Bennett is a little nicked up. Ekblad, I think, was a little. So yeah, Tampa
Ekblad's on
Bay.
steroids.
Yeah, that's right. He's suspended, right? So
Yeah,
he was
so he's
nicked
going to
up
come back.
before
He's
that.
going to come back a little bit smaller.
Yeah. So I like both those teams, but well, don't
Okay,
forget
so
too, Marchand could be a bit of an X factor to help give Florida that shot in the
but is
arm
he
that they
enough?
need.
But is he enough? I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. Do you have who are your upsets?
Okay, I'll just go with who I think's vulnerable. I think Washington could be vulnerable to Montreal.
I agree.
Um, and you know what? I don't know out west right now. Like I look at all those teams, and you know,
Edmonton could be vulnerable.
yeah, you would look at Edmonton to be possibly vulnerable, but I'm telling you, when you got 29 97, when they put that uniform on,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that, that kind of evens every playing field and actually tilts it. I think
You definitely have some
Toronto,
nitro on your engine.
yeah, I think Toronto should handle Ottawa, but there's another one that if Ottawa is able to get a split in Toronto and get the press spinning and get the narrative spinning, that's one. We'll see how Toronto handles it. I think Toronto's been enough scar tissue that they should be able to withstand it. But Washington, to me, is vulnerable situation. They need to get off to a good start against Montreal and Toronto. Um, Ottawa plays like the way Travis Green plays in your face with pace. They get going. They're going to be tough. So those would be the two series I'd
Yeah,
keep an eye open for. And anything can happen. Like you might be looking at the Vegas mini series and okay, shouldn't be much going on there. And mini comes in and gets a split, then it's on. So one game flip series. We haven't talked about Winnipeg, but I happen to really like what I'm seeing in Winnipeg this year. So I wouldn't anticipate at this time I think Winnipeg's all systems go. And then,
It's
yeah.
it's there now in Winnipeg. Like,
Hmm.
because yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's the best time of the year. We got a lot of hockey. It's every night a lot of hockey, and it's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And whoever gets injuries, that, and you start testing your
yeah.
depth, that's where you really find out. And that's the thing. General managers build their teams for the regular season to get into the playoffs, and then they try and build their teams so that they can. Because here's the thing: you're not playing one team one night and going and playing another team 2 nights later. You're playing the same team every other night.
Overnight. Yeah.
Yeah, and it wears on you. So we'll see.
All
Yeah.
right, let's do some shout outs. I gotta get going. I gotta
Okay,
get
give me a shout
going.
out.
All right, my shout out is to the little. I didn't even think about who do I have a shout out? Oh,
How about
I'll
the
give a.
Austin
I'm gonna give a
Comedy Festival?
shout. I'm gonna give a shout out to my wife. On Monday, we're getting in the car and we're driving from Los Angeles to Virginia, and we're going to be in the car together with the dogs for 4 days. So I'm going to give her a shout out while I still love her, and then we'll talk again next week.
Yeah, yeah. And then when she gets to Virginia and you got booted out in Colorado or New
Yeah, yeah.
Mexico, yeah,
When
I'll talk
she
to you in New Mexico next week.
yeah, exactly. When she drives 2 days by herself,
Oh my God, that's
her and the
awesome.
dogs.
Um,
Uh,
I there's two people that I worked with for a long time that unfortunately we lost last in the last
I
couple of
don't
days.
know.
Actually, one of them it's a guy I flew with for years, a real character and a world traveler, and just wrote books. But like he would be, there's pictures of him with Mother Teresa. He was in North Korea. He was in Africa, wherever it was in the world. Henry Bernanke, unfortunately, sadly. So a shout out to Henry and a life well lived. And Cece Muni, she was our scheduler for years, and she would do anything to help anybody. And unfortunately, we lost Cece too. So tough week, but
Mm.
shout out to both those people because they made a huge impact on not only me, but on all the people I work with. So shout out to them. Love to all.
Mm.